Okay, welcome back to my part 2 of my Metal Gear Marathon, where I finally got around to finishing and completing Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty for the PlayStation 2. Yeah, MGS 2 is the sequel to the first Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1, and the fourth chapter in Hideo Kojima's grand Metal Gear Solid cinematic epic of a story. A recap of the first game, minus spoilers here, because a lot of the repercussions in the first game carry on into Sons of Liberty, and they're pretty big, so minus spoilers. First game pretty much ends with a big bombshell. It turns out Liquid Snake and Solid Snake are twins, and they are clone sons of Big Boss. Liquid Snake does eventually die at the end of Hands of Snake with a big battle with Metal Gear Rex. Yeah, Snake defeats Metal Gear Rex and the world is pretty much saved from a nuclear holocaust. And everyone in the game goes their separate ways. You see Snake and Meryl ride off into the sunset at the end of the game. Otacon, but to be fair, Otacon gets left behind in the base, I can't lie. But you can tell like he has some solace in his life. And the rest of the military group are doing their own thing. Metal Gear Solid 2 takes place several years after the event of Shadow Moses, and a lot has happened since then to now. Otacon and Solid Snake have gone off, left the government, and they're doing their own thing, trying to figure out how to take down the whole like Metal Gear issue that's happening right now in the world. And what's happening right now in the world is actually crazy. Pretty much due to the events of Metal Gear Rex, pretty much everything's been leaked out to the world. Every government right now has pretty much built their own Metal Gear. Like every .com, every website, every company, every tech company. Like imagine Apple or Google or Facebook having their own giant Metal Gear. So the beginning of the game starts off with this mission plan where you play as Solid Snake. You're there to infiltrate something called Metal Gear Ray, which is basically like an anti-Metal Gear to fight off other Metal Gears. It's an anti-Metal Gear, if that makes any sense. But it's basically another big robot, I can't lie. And in doing so, you play Solid Snake, you infiltrate the ship, you try and take pictures of Metal Gear Ray without getting caught, of course, because, you know, it's the return of tactical espionage action, and leak the photos online pretty much. However, nothing really goes well in the story, especially with Snake, and it turns out we got the Russians involved, and Ocelot makes a return as well. Metal Gear Ray gets stolen by a terrorist group called the Sons of Liberty. Metal Gear Ray escapes, the mission is a failure. Another time skip happens, and you pretty much figure out where these terrorists are, the Sons of Liberty, and your mission is pretty much to take these guys out and stop any further escalation. That's the simplest format I can put it without giving any spoilers away for this story at all, because the story gets very convoluted as we move on. But that's the simplest way I can put it, so hopefully that makes sense. Some context here. When this game came out, it was a big deal. It was the sequel to one of the greatest games of all time. People were hyped about this, and when the game came out, yeah, it was very big, I can't lie. Slightly past my time, but it still had a reputation. The game came out, people were loving it. 3 hours in, what the hell happened? Yes, the bombshell is you only play for Snake, you only play as Solid Snake for like the prologue mission only on the boat at the beginning of the game. And from then on, after the prologue, you play as this dude, Raiden. Yeah, it definitely must have felt like a slap in the face when you realize you're not playing as Solid Snake anymore and you're playing as like this anime boy. I can't lie. Given time, especially with Metal Gear Solid 3 and the rest of the sequels, I think looking back on it, I think it makes sense having Raiden as the main character of this game. But again, it's still a bit jarring that we don't really get to play as Snake at all. His presence is still in the story, like he's still like a major side character in your experience as you play through this story. But again, I think Snake is a bit more of a compelling character to Raiden, but the game's still worth playing. Just saying, like, Raiden's story is still very important to the overall narrative of what Hideo Kojima is trying to convey. And yeah, overall, I liked Raiden as a character. He came off as like this super green rookie recruit for the first time at the beginning of the game, but as you go on through the story, you learn more about him. He's still a bit basic, like typical anime boy who's like amazing at killing people and so on. But I think once we hit like the latter half of the game, the last quarter of the game, there's a lot of story resolutions that come with this character, and you really feel for him. This character has a lot of trauma and backstory. Very tragic, I can't lie. Again, typical like anime boy experience, but it works. And yeah, Snake himself, he's there. He plays as he has a different codename in the story. I think it's Lieutenant Pliskin. Obviously Snake, by the way he talks and looks. It's clearly Snake. And you can kind of see him as like a mentor figure in a way. He kind of acts as like the lieutenant role in the first MGS game. Or like, you know, like Nastasha's character or Mei Ling's character, where he's giving you advice if you ever need him to, while you play and traverse through the map area of the game. And the map area itself is another thing as well. It's basically a giant oil rig. It's called the Big Shell. It's basically like multiple hexagons that are like located around you, and each hexagon is its own strut. The Big Shell itself is visually repetitive. If you're not a fan of like pipes and hallways and a lot of like oil rig based aesthetics, this is not going to be like the visual like game for you, I can't lie, because you do a lot of backtracking, but it's not really a tedious backtracking, but still like you're still moving around. The map itself is very small for the Big Shell, but so everything you can traverse through and move through is very easy, unlike again Metal Gear Solid 1 where you have to go back and find the sniper and then come back all the way to fight Sniper Wolf. That was very long. I never had that experience with Sons of Liberty, so that's a good pro, I guess. And the story itself, with Metal Gear Solid, bro, like this game, it's so hard to explain. So many factions and plot twists that happened. I don't know how to explain this without having like writing a full like flipping thesis on this narrative. So you hit the halfway mark, from the prologue onwards to like the halfway point, it's just standard tactical espionage, like action style of missions. Go into this room, find a character, take these bombs and C4s from the area out, don't get caught. Typical MGS stuff that you get. The second half, oh my god, there's like, the rug gets pulled out of you like at least 15 times. There's so many plot twists after plot twists. It's like I'm watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie and you're like, what the hell is going on? Minus spoilers, but even like the final piece of dialogue is literally what the hell? Because there's so many like mind-blowing moments. You're like, what the hell's going on? Give me answers. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll tell you what the ending of MGS2 reminds me of like the entire like experience. You watch stuff like Neon Genesis Evangelion, the movie after the anime finished. That experience, the Akira movie ending, where it's like, I don't know what to feel, like I don't know what's going on. Like there's clearly a lot of commentary that's being portrayed, a lot of social and political commentary, and it's very meta as well, and it's everything's just getting thrown at you all at once. Am I playing a Metal Gear Solid game? Am I playing a military game? This is not a military game, this is just like something else completely. It's that kind of experience. It's really, really weird. Again, it's one of the things where you have to play for yourself to understand. And even though the commentary and the meta like analysis of this game does hit you over the head a lot of the experience itself is very much like Metal Gear Solid 1. It's a top-down camera, you have a pistol, don't get caught, you have boxes, you have C4s, you have the same type of weapons and equipment that you have from the previous game. It's, again, 90% of the game experience is pretty much the same game as MGS1, but you have extra little tidbits given like the power of the PS2. You can go first person mode with your pistol, which is extremely convenient and handy when it comes to stealth-based combat in general. It's so convenient. When you're traversing the oil rig itself, the big shell, you can like hang onto ledges and stuff and crawl your way, again enhancing the stealth experience. You have like another similar like protagonist group, similar to Foxhound in the previous game. The boss fights and protagonist group for this game particularly isn't as memorable as Foxhound. I'm gonna be honest, like we have some unique characters like Vamp, who's basically Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He's like this vampire type character who eats and kills people. Yeah, then you have like Fortune. She's like this girl who has like amazing luck where if you shoot a bullet at her, it will like repel. She can't be killed. It reminds me a lot of like Domino from the X-Men. But other than that, it's not as memorable. Even the final boss, minus spoilers, is Solid the Snake, who's basically another clone of Big Boss. So there's the third son now that's involved in the MGS story. Yes, you have Liquid Solid and Solid the Snake now. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between the first game and Sons of Liberty. Again, it's like what George Lucas said, it's like poetry, it rhymes. There's a lot of beats, plot beats and gameplay beats and experiences that you can pretty much mirror one-to-one when it comes to it. It's not like Star Wars Force Awakens where it's like, yeah, this is clearly like a complete copy of the original experience. This game does it different enough for it to stand alone by itself. But yeah, this game is literally the Raiden and Solid Snake experience. A lot of the previous characters don't make it from MGS1 to this game, which is a bit jarring because I already wanted to see Meryl's relationship develop with Snake from the first game. That was never mentioned. You see Meryl's name get brought up once and that's it. So that's a bit annoying. I wanted to see more of that because Snake himself as a character, he's very stone cold a lot of the times, but as you play the games, as you experience the story, he's just a chill dude. Like there's this one scene where him and Otacon, just before they split up, before the big climax, they do like this really cool bro fist bump maneuver, which was really fun to see. But yeah, Meryl doesn't come back. Otacon does come back. You don't see Nastasha Romanenko come back. Colonel Campbell comes back as the Colonel Lieutenant to give missions for Raiden, which is pretty cool. But Mei Ling doesn't come back. Although I think this was total off screen, but she was a part of the independent group that Otacon and Solid Snake made. But again, she was never mentioned. Kazuhiro Miller as well doesn't come back. Spoilers, he dies in the first game off screen, which is so jarring because he's like one of my favorite characters in Phantom Pain. So again, it's one of them things where like I hope if Konami were to make one more game, we see more of Kazuhiro Miller's interaction with Snake when like he's training him, because he's the master, of course, for the kids. And I guess Mei Ling's replacement for this game is Rose, who's like the girlfriend character for Raiden. The romance isn't really, it's very surface level, I can't lie. It's very, very one-dimensional. I didn't really feel anything when it came to their relationship. Again, everything was told through codec menus and cutscenes, so you didn't really feel anything, especially at the end. But again, I want to see how, I guess, their relationship develop in MGS, well, not 3, but MGS 4. I can't really go that much into it because of spoilers of like how the actual ending like resolves everything and how it opens up everything. Yeah, this game is such a weird experience. It's so hard to talk about, man. But yeah, I guess that was my little ramble for MGS 2. Definitely worth playing. Is it as good as the first game? Nah, I'm gonna be honest. I think I enjoyed MGS 1 a lot more. Sons of Liberty, although it had a lot of cool elements, it felt like a slight step down. Gameplay-wise, it's amazing. I think it definitely polishes a lot of the mechanics of the first game. Also the difficulty as well. If you get caught, you're pretty much dead. This game forces you to be stealthy. If you get caught, you might as well just restart the game. The amount of enemies that come after you, it's so frustrating. I've never died so many times. I think I've died at least 3 times more than I did in MGS 1. It was one of them ones. Don't get caught. It was so frustrating. But yeah, the difficulty was a lot harder in this game compared to the first one. Again, it's still worth playing. It's still important to the story. I think you'll like Raiden. I liked Raiden. I think by the end of the game, I found him a compelling character. I want to see more of him and his story. And then like all the confusing, mind-blowing BS that we got at the end of the game with all the conspiracy stuff. I'm not like a social political commentary channel, you know, like delving into the subtext of certain video game topics. It's one of them ones. I can't lie. You can really dive into what is like being conveyed to the audience member. And there's even times where like I feel like the narrative was directly not even talking to Raiden, but it was literally talking to me directly, especially like the final cutscene. Oh my god, it's like 30 minutes long, so be prepared. It's very cutscene heavy as well, and it's gonna get worse as well with MGS 3 and 4, so that's gonna be fun. But regardless, it's still one of the best games I played on the PS2. Also, my boy Ninja comes back in this game as well for a short appearance, which was really neat. But yeah, I guess that was my non-spoiler review for MGS 2 Sons of Liberty. Who's your favorite character? What do you guys think of this game in particular? Because it's kind of like, I feel like MGS 2 is definitely the black sheep of the games overall. When you ask people, yeah, what's your favorite MGS game? It's usually MGS 1 for the PlayStation 1, or Snake Eater, or even like Phantom Pain, I've heard as well. But nobody really talks about MGS 2. I can see why, but I think, again, it was one of them games where 10, 15 years later, it makes sense. Like, it's definitely an important piece in the puzzle of Metal Gear Solid story. It's definitely the game where the world expands and the lore expands. So yeah, that's my little ramble over. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and let me know what you guys think, because let's see how it goes. My next play will of course be MGS 3 Snake Eater, where we go back in time and play as Big Boss. I can't wait. I'm so excited for that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I shall see you guys next time, and peace. Shoo.